The U.S. corporation Northrop Grumman showed a teaser announcement of the new B-21 Raider bomber. During the teaser, the company announced the full announcement of the next-generation bomber on December 2nd. The presentation will take place at the company's Palmdale site. Access will be by invitation only. The company itself called the announcement a historic moment because the B-21 is the most advanced and groundbreaking military aircraft ever built. But is it? And let's try to understand why the Pentagon wants this bomber. According to military plans, it should be in service by 2026-2027. But there's the B-2 Spirit, the American heavy strategic stealth bomber, designed to overcome dense air defenses. You'll say that the plane made its first flight in 1989. That is, the U.S. has not produced a new bomber in 33 years. But why not continue to modernize the B-2 Spirit? After all, the same B-52, which this year already turned 50 years old, the Pentagon plans to use until the 2050s. So why exactly do we need a new strategist? Let's find out. Strategic bombers are part of the nuclear triad. That is, they're one of the three elements of strategic deterrence against the enemy, along with land-based nuclear missiles and nuclear submarines. However, only the U.S. has stealth bombers. Russia has the most advanced strategic bomber, the Tu-160, which made its first flight 35 years ago in 1987. It has no stealth technology. China's strategic bomber is the XIAN H-6, which is essentially a copy of the Soviet Tu-16 built in 1952. And only in 2025, China intends to begin to operate the XIAN H-20, an aircraft built under the Flying Wing scheme using stealth technology. That is, in essence, it'll be an analog of the B-2 Spirit. So why does the Pentagon, instead of upgrading the B-2 Spirit, want an entirely new aircraft? After all, in March 2012, the Pentagon announced the beginning of a 10-year, $2 billion modernization of the B-2 fleet. The main focus of the upgrade will be to replace outdated avionics and equipment. That is, this year, that program was completed. As Task Force 509 Commander Colonel Keith Butler said in 2021, for the B-2, the expansion of some of our strike capabilities allows us to improve our survivability beyond the fighter escort area. Now the B-2 fleet continues to improve, which has also allowed us to expand our strike capabilities. Although we've been in existence for over 30 years, there's a lot of life left on this platform, right up until the B-21 comes on the scene and does its job. That is, the military admits that there's a lot of life left on this platform, meaning the B-2. Nevertheless, as mentioned above, in 26-27, they want to have a new aircraft already. That said, the plans for it are grandiose. According to the published schedule, once the first production B-21s arrive in the U.S. Air Force after 2026-27, the plan is to form the first squadron by the early 30s and bring it to initial operational readiness. The total number of these bombers is planned to reach 140 to 145 units. That is, they will be more than the current total number of B-1Bs, 45 units, B-2s, 20 units, and B-52Hs, 58 units. The total is 123 units. There's very little information about the technical makeup of the B-21. Judging by the teaser from Northrop Grumman, the new aircraft will look very similar to the B-2, made by the scheme Flying Wing. It's also known that the plane will be made in two versions, with a pilot on board and unmanned. But this is already a sign of the sixth-generation aircraft. True, at the 2016 Air Warfare Symposium, then Air Force Secretary Deborah Lee James said that the B-21 is a fifth-generation global precision strike platform that will provide the United States with network sensor firing capability and will hold targets at risk. Her words contradict those of Northrop Grumman Aeronautics Systems Corporate Vice President and President Tom Jones, who said verbatim, "Northrop Grumman is proud of our partnership with the United States Air Force as we deliver the B-21 Raider, a sixth-generation aircraft optimized for operations in extremely challenging environments." So is the B-21 Raider a fifth or sixth-generation aircraft? If it's a fifth-generation aircraft, then the program of creating the B-21 Raider becomes similar to the program of creating the F-35 fighter. The U.S. already had a great fifth-generation fighter, F-22, but because of the high cost of its production and operation, they decided to create a fifth-generation fighter too. but devoid of these shortcomings. Thus, the F-35 appeared. Maybe the military's not satisfied with the B-2 being too expensive even for the USA. Indeed, the B-2 Spirit is the most expensive aircraft. The cost of one unit, together with equipment, is $2,100,300,000. And the cost per flight hour is $149,000. So when two B-2s attacked an ISIS training camp 19 miles southwest of Sirte, Libya, in January of 2017, killing about 85 militants, it cost American taxpayers almost $5 million. And that's not counting the cost of guided air bombs or the work of air refuelers, since each B-2 made a 33-hour round-trip flight from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, with 5 refuelings during the flight. But the cost of the B-21, as stated by the Pentagon, should not exceed $500 million. The fact that the B-21 is likely to be an upgrade of the B-2 shows several other indirect signs. Firstly, the tight development schedule. The development contract was awarded to Northrop Grumman in October 2015, and already in 2026-2027, the aircraft should become in service. Second, on January 31, 2020, the U.S. Air Force and Northrop Grumman published a design for a two-wheeled version of its main landing gear. It potentially indicates the aircraft is smaller and lighter than the B-2. Right, like the F-35 is lighter than the F-22. Finally, the fact that the B-21 may be a profound modernization of the B-2 is also indicated by the fact that the indices are very similar. For example, we can assume the 21 means the first deep modernization of the B-2. True, Air Force Secretary Deborah Lee James already mentioned that 21 means it'll be the first bomber of the 21st century. So what will the B-21 Raider be? A 5th or 6th generation bomber? It seems to us that it'll be a deep modernization of the B-2, which will allow a new bomber to get some properties of the aircraft already of the 6th generation. In particular, it'll be the ability to control several unmanned drones, conducting network-centric operations when information for decision-making will automatically come to the bomber's computer from its slave drones, other aircraft, and weapons. There will be an unmanned version of the aircraft. It's almost certain to correct the shortcomings of the B-2 Spirit, which is a pure bomber that's not capable of using missiles. No country can afford such a luxury of narrow specialization. Even a strategist must be able to not only drop bombs, but also hit targets with missiles and act even as a fighter, that is, to destroy enemy planes. Surely the invisibility will be improved. After all, over 30-odd years, the technology has stepped far forward, and the design of air defense radars has not stood still. But at the same time, there's information that the Air Force is planning to buy a new long-range fighter known as the Penetrating Counter-Air, which will escort the B-21 Raider deep into enemy territory. The new fighter, about which little is known, was supposed to help the bomber overcome enemy air defenses. That is, the military does not count on invisibility alone. By the way, the B-2 has a similar concept, though it's called Spirit, i.e. invisible, but the military feared that the Russian or Chinese radars would still detect it. Therefore, there's a possibility of escorting it by F-35 fighters. But in this case, the logistics of the operation become much more complicated. After all, the F-35 is known for its short range without refueling, only 620 miles, whereas the B-2 has 3,300 miles. Well, let's see what the B-21 Raider will end up being, a deep upgrade of the B-2 or a brand new aircraft. We'll also be able to compare it with the Russian strategic stealth bomber, which for now is called Product 80 and is scheduled to go into service in 2027. What are your thoughts on the B-21 Raider strategic bomber program? Would it be another breakthrough in aircraft engineering or just an improvement on what's already been achieved? Write your thoughts in the comments below. Also, please like this video so that as many people as possible can watch it. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. There will be many more interesting videos about modern weapons.